Graphs can be a great tool for us when we want to compare data quickly, but we need to be aware of a few small but important parts of the graph to make sure that our comparisons are accurate. For example, let's look at the following two graphs showing the prices of apples and oranges over time. At first glance, the data may seem very different, but before we can draw any conclusions, we have to analyze the graphs carefully. The first thing we should always check are the axes. The x-axis tells us that the data was collected between January and April for both graphs, but on the y-axis, we can see that the scaling is very different. On graph 1, the y-axis starts at 50 and ends at 60, while graph 2 starts at 0 and ends at 100. Even though the first graph has a much steeper slope, this is due to the scaling of the axis and not necessarily the data. When comparing the graphs with the different scales in mind, we can see that they are almost identical. They both start a little over 50 and end before reaching 60. So as you can see, the way a graph is made can make a big difference on how it looks, even if the data is very similar. Let's look at one more example. The graph shows us test data from both males and females. As we check the graphs, we can see that the axes are scaled in the exact same way. This means that we can directly compare the two graphs because the scaling is the same on all axes.